You know, the movie Blade Runner was based on a novel called Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
You don't get a second chance to make a good first impression, and that's what's so important about a game's opening level. In my eyes, a good first level should allow a player to get a feel for how the game works, while also setting the tone for the game that follows. These are the 10 levels which I believe fit that criteria best, or that I otherwise enjoyed the most. Standard countdown protocol applies, only levels from games I've played, and only one per franchise excluding certain spin-offs. Also, for a level to be eligible, it must be the very first level you can access, even if a level select screen or hub world is involved. Alright then, countdown start! Tree's Apprentice made a very good point about levels in Kirby games in his Versus rant. The environments are nice, but the levels themselves usually aren't very creative. That being said, the first stage of Kirby's Adventure just barely made the list. The layout does a pretty good job of giving you time to learn the basics, and the music is upbeat and enjoyable. But this level holds a trump card right about here. You see, there's a secret room. Inside that room is the UFO, and if you saw my Kirby countdown, you know how much I love the UFO. Do you know what the really sad part is? I never knew about it until last year! And I played the game when it first came out. But I'm just dating myself here. Lesson here? Revisiting old games is a good thing. That is why Virtual Console exists!
I see him up ahead. Let's rock and roll!
Andross is invading and the Lilat system is in chaos. So what are you gonna do about it? Well, if you're Fox McCloud, you hop into your R-Wing and get ready to kick some butt! Welcome to Corneria, the first level of Star Fox 64, and we're opening up with a bang. As you fly through the ruined city, you get to know the importance of listening to and helping your teammates. And you also get the hang of the moves you need to prevail. There are also branching paths here. The first leads to Grangar, which you fight in all-range mode, while the second leads to the attack carrier, which is a throwback to the original Star Fox. The music is also enjoyable, though not as much as in some other levels. Overall, this is a great way to start the game.
Do a barrel roll!
Actually, it's an aileron roll, but that just doesn't roll off the tongue as well.
Oh hell yes! When Castlevania hit the Super NES, it didn't mess around. This isn't just Castlevania 4, no, it's Super Castlevania 4, and it lets you know it right from the start. With the Skull Rock in the background, the approach with the drawbridge, and the fence that shoots up right as you enter, complete with doors so you can travel on the other side, which really helped show off the system's power. The level design is also solid, featuring quite a few of the basic obstacles, as well as giving you the chance to really get the hang of whip swinging. Trust me, you'll need to master it. But what really sells it is the music. It really has that heroic feel to it. It just screams, Simon Belmont is in the house and he's ready to kick some ass! Seriously, this music has been known to cause an orgasm. And cue facepalm! Yes, I'm putting Brinstar on the list. No, not from the original. I'm going with Zero Mission on this one for a couple reasons. First off, the game as a whole has a better sense of conveyance, and you get a good sense of that here. When you deposit yourself into that first Chozo statue and are pointed to your next objective, you get a sense of direction instead of asking, what do I do? Where do I go? Second, the atmosphere is just plain better. Brinstar got a real facelift here. It just feels like a more organic environment instead of the sort of warped reality from the original. And it just seems more natural here than it did on NES. And the music feels more like exploration music. And you get a pretty decent first boss here as well, until it escapes. Come back and fight me like a man! Worm! Okay, I admit it. I've never owned an Xbox. I do, however, own Ninja Gaiden Sigma for the PS3, which means I can cover Chapter 1, The Way of the Ninja, since they're pretty much the same in both versions. Like I mentioned at the beginning, a good first level should give the player a sense of what's to come. This level, set in a ninja stronghold in the mountains, does that very well, by being very tough. You have about 2 minutes before you're thrown to the wolves, and even though you get tutorial messages attached to kunai, that's about all the assistance that you're going to get. And don't bother attacking recklessly or you will end up disemboweled. Of particular note is the boss, Murai. He is hard. Perhaps the hardest first boss ever in a video game. But at least he's fair and a good skill check, unlike a certain final boss I faced.
Waiting for this!
Thank you, Dio. Thank you for shutting that guy up. You know, I think I finally found my own running gag.
Ikaruga is an excellent 2D shooter. One of my favorites, in fact. But if you play it, you'd better have a cast iron ass. Because this game is hard, and it lets you know it from the first level. From the start, there are ships and bullets coming at you from all angles, and unless you quickly get the hang of shifting polarities, you will not get far. But the way the enemies are grouped, you have a good opportunity to score some early chains, and once you memorize the patterns, you can get through without much trouble. The boss, Eboshidori, is a good early test of your skills as well, forcing you to switch polarity to better combat your opponent. But I especially like the atmosphere in this level, from the transition from lush forest to mechanical bass, to the incredible music that truly embodies the heroic spirit of the pilot. And just a heads up, it just gets tougher from here. There are a good variety of choices from the Sonic series, but I went with the first act of Tropical Resort from Sonic Colors. This game doesn't waste your time. Before you even get into the story, it drops you right into the action. There are plenty of straightaways that give you the opportunity to work up some speed, and the enemy placement lets you get the hang of the homing attack without being too threatening. The 2D platforming section is solid as well, providing some clever paths for when you come back with more wisps. And trust me, you'll want to do that. Add in some sweet rail segments and you've got yourself a really fun level. The atmosphere is great as well. You really get into the amusement park theme, and listening to Eggman over the PA can be hilarious sometimes. The music works really well here too. It really fits the tropical theme with its guitar and its overall tone. And I'm not the only one who likes this theme. In fact, a certain countdown maker whom I like made it his theme. Yeah, Fawful's Minion rocks. You know, I was actually considering Inside the Deku Tree from Ocarina of Time to represent the Zelda franchise for this list, but White Flareon reminded me of how unique your first trip to the Forsaken Fortress is in Wind Waker. This is basically a stealth mission, which is far from your usual Zelda dungeon fare, and the music and setting perfectly portray the feel of a fantasy stealth infiltration rescue mission. The level itself plays out great as well. After being launched into the fortress by Tetra's pirates, you realize that your sword got launched even farther, which basically turns this into Metal Gear Zelda, except that you're using a barrel instead of a cardboard box. First order of business is taking out the searchlights, which involves smacking bokoblins with sticks. With that out of the way, you continue to sneak your way towards the top of the fortress, while trying not to get detected by moblins along the way. Eventually you get your sword back, and Link does find his sister. But predictably, the rescue doesn't go as planned and... Link? What happened? Link? Link! Yeah. Flame shield up! I freaking love Super Mario Galaxy, and the Good Egg Galaxy in particular. But I can't put it on the list. Why? Because you get the first grand star before you even reach the Comet Observatory. So instead, my pick comes from Super Mario 64, an absolute classic that sets a high standard for 3D platforming. And when you jump into that first painting in the castle, take a good look at where you end up. Because Bob-omb Battlefield is the first course on this masterpiece of a menu, and a great showcase of what the N64 was capable of. While it's easy being the first level, it's laid out exceptionally well, with a variety of gimmicks that work effectively. Shooting Mario out of a cannon for the first time is so satisfying, and the preparation for later? Try the first boss. You fight the Big Bob-omb in a similar way to the Bowser fights later on. Overall, this level takes number 2 because of how fun it is, as well as how effectively it introduces players to 3D platforming. But it's only number 2 because number 1 combines fun with every other aspect of a great first level even better. Speaking of which, we need to recap before we hit number 1. Number 10, UFO Trump Card. Number 9, do a barrel roll. Number 8, whippin' dudes, yeah, oh get out of here! Number 7, get back here, worm! Number 6, man this guy's hard. Number 5, cast iron ass. Number 4, save the story for later. Number 3, Metal Gear Zelda. And number 2, boom goes the dynamite. I think Egoraptor said it best.
Electrical engineering is pretty smart. General relativity, it's pretty fucking smart. The intro stage in Mega Man... Fucking genius!
I'm sure a lot of us have heard him gush over how brilliant this level is, but I digress. I love this level! The level is called Central Highway, and the way it's designed is incredible. The scenery, from the broken roads to the vehicles trying to escape, very nicely depicts the chaos that the Mavericks have caused. And that music. Just classic. As for the level design, it's set up so that a player can learn how things work even without the instructions. It teaches you all the basics through the placement of enemies and obstacles. A prime example of this is how the giant Hornet mini-boss crashes through the highway, forcing you to learn to wall jump. But what really seals it is the battle at the end. The fight with Vile was the first fight I can recall that you literally could not win. It makes you truly feel helpless. Until Zero shows up and kicks his ass, then proceeds to give you the pep talk that sets up the whole theme of the game. From then on, you are driven to get stronger so that you can overcome the helplessness you felt in that one battle. Everything about this level works brilliantly. The design, the atmosphere, the theming, it all comes together perfectly. Hands down, my favorite opening level ever.
I'm the quarter guy, and I still want to know what Capcom plans to do with that cliffhanger from the end of X8.
Riding on cars!